Hello, everyone. In the following podcast, I have a discussion with a friend and jiu-jitsu training partner, Anthony Zorzetto. In our discussion, we talk about substance abuse, we talk about alcohol addiction, and we talk about suicide. The podcast also features strong language. If those are things you struggle with, I'll have listed below some hotline and help numbers. If you or someone you know needs help, please seek it. In the discussion, we talk about Anthony's path to addiction. We discuss some of the effects and impacts it had on him and his general experience and what his life was like during that time. We also discuss how Anthony began his road to recovery and sobriety. And then we finish up by discussing a little bit about what the work it is he does now with addictions recovery. And we also explore how parents can approach this complicated subject with their children. If you enjoy the conversation, please leave a like, please leave a follow. It means a lot. And without further ado, here we go. Welcome, Anthony. First off, congratulations on your purple belt.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
We met through jiu-jitsu just at Frontline, so shout out Frontline.
Yep.
And once I saw your Instagram handle, I saw that, one, you have like a pretty massive following on there, and you seem to run your own coaching business that focuses on addictions and recovery. Mm-hmm. So do you want to just start by kind of introducing yourself and kind of how you got there and a bit of your story?
Yeah, sure, man. So, yeah, my Instagram, I had a construction company for many years, and I always was called to like helping addicts because I was one. Before I even came out and told everybody that I was an addict, like it kind of disappeared for a couple of years from everyone's life. Once I got healthy, I turned my Instagram into like talking about just even motivation for like business or mental mindset, which is a cliche thing right now. Like, fuck, it's like the word spiritual. Like it's stolen by the influencers. Yeah. But like getting people motivated to get up and do things. Like I really wanted to just help out in that regard, right?
Yeah.
Once I got more and more comfortable about being online and having an online presence, then I was able to start sharing my story about addiction and recovery.
Okay.
And then once I was able to do that, then I kind of, I just calculated my Instagram to be about recovery and show other people that you can recover. Like you can can quit the addictions and kill your vices and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm like super like vulnerable on there, and I share everything about addiction, and I think it's really important because there's
I like your content. Like a lot of it, even when I first started following, it was like, oh, this is like really good content, regardless of if you're an addict. You're just watching it, and like you talk a lot about consistency, having trust with yourself, following through on your promises, being reliable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So at the start, you were more focused on business and motivation. Mm-hmm. And then once you got comfortable sharing, then you transitioned into talking about your own story?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why did you, I'm cutting you off here, but sure. Why did you take time to get comfortable with that?
I wanted to build confidence, true confidence. So meaning I wanted enough sobriety time under my belt that I wasn't gonna relapse, or someone was gonna see me out at the bar all fucked up or something like that. Yeah. So I wanted to get to a point where I was comfortable enough, like, I'm not going back. Like that old like kill your clone, if you will. I got that from Ethan Suplee. Kind of that version 1.0 that I always talk about. Once that guy was dead and gone, I was comfortable talking about addiction, because then I could be an actual authority on the subject. Like, no one's gonna listen to somebody who's 10 days sober about being sober, right?
Yeah.
It's like business too. Like you get like a brand new business graduate talking about business. Like no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't prove yourself at all yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
especially if they only have the degree and no actual business behind them.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. So that's why I waited a long time. I wanted to be comfortable with it too. Plus I don't like that attention, that poor you, is everything okay attention. Mm-hmm. I hate it, actually. I'm getting better at it. Obviously no one likes pity. No one loves pity. Yeah. But I didn't want to talk about it so early that my friends and family were constantly checking in on me to make sure I was okay and everything was all right. I wanted to make sure I had like a good solid, year or so of sobriety under my belt to start talking about it. And
so you waited about 1 year?
A little bit longer than that, actually, like probably almost 2. And then I knew that I was solid. And then when I finally came out and told everyone exactly where I've been and exactly what has happened, then I knew that they weren't gonna like pepper me with questions as much, right? And be like worried so much because they see that I'm healthy and they have seen that I've been healthy for 2 years. So
you're now talking about something that hasn't existed for some time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
You used a very specific word earlier. You said you were called to it. Like, what do you mean by that exactly?
I think certain things get put on your heart, like you get called to help people, maybe you got called to be a teacher, maybe, somebody gets called to help somebody somewhere or whatever. I just feel that when I was in my active addiction, I knew that if I heard somebody talk about being an addict the way I was and explaining how they got out of it, that I could take some lessons from there and understand that it was possible to get out of it. So I just felt like that it was my calling to get into sobriety coaching so that I could show other people that it is possible to, be rock bottom, like absolute rock bottom, and come out of it. And not only come out of it, but like thrive too.
Yeah.
Right? That's another thing a lot of people don't really talk about that I like to talk about is like you're an addict and then you become sober. You don't just stop there. You can become wealthy. You can get a good business. You can help thousands of people. You can climb fucking Mount Everest. Like you can do all kinds of stuff, right? So
sky's the limit.
It's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you kind of felt like almost like a nagging on your heart that you have to go into a particular direction.
That's right. Yeah. Like my construction business is doing really, really well. Like there's a lot of people that think I'm dumb as fuck for turning from construction into coaching, but I don't look at the money like that. Like it's, I was fortunate enough to get into a position where I don't have to worry about money, like the way that a lot of people do. So it's comfortable for me to go into coaching at that point. But I'm not going to stay in something that I don't absolutely love 100%. I'm just not going to do it. You only live once. So I knew that I'm making good money in construction, owning the business. It's going really well, but my heart is being pulled towards sobriety coaching. Like I got to listen to it because the last thing I want to do is have regret. That regret scares me to no end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into more detail about how you got on the path of addiction or even use?
Yeah. Sure.
Like I'd love to hear that. And then I am curious as well, like, is there a relationship between the substance use and the construction work and company?
Yeah, that's actually a great question that no one's ever asked that actually. I'd love to talk about that. So the way my addiction started was kind of like everyone here in Alberta, especially in Edmonton, like we binge drink. Yeah. That's what you do. Yeah. You work hard during the week or...
Did you grow up in Edmonton?
I grew up in Beaumont, but same shit.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've heard the further north you go, the worse the drinking gets.
That's right. Yeah, that is actually true from what I've heard as well. But small town Beaumont, right? At least when I grew up in Beaumont, now it's a city, but it was smaller. And the culture for us anyways was work as hard as you can and drink as hard as you can on the weekends. So I was just doing what everybody else was doing.
When did you start?
The first time I got drunk, I was in grade 9.
Okay.
Which actually, I went to Mount Carmel here. So I split between Beaumont. My parents split up when I was in grade 5, and then I came back here for grade 6 all the way to grade 11, and then I did grade 12 back in Beaumont. Okay. And my junior high was not literally 4 blocks from here. Okay. So the grade 9 grad, after I got blackout drunk on whiskey, I think.
And you'd be around 14 years old.
Yeah, about 14 years old.
15.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then from there...
How did you guys get a hold of alcohol? Was it much easier back then?
No, it's funny.
I guess I'll ask, how old are you?
35.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 28. So
okay.
Not too far.
Probably. Yeah, not too far. Thank you for saying that. There's always the parents that are chill. There's always like that one
Yeah.
buddy that has the parents that are just like, whatever, like fuck. As long as you drink at my house, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Like, I definitely get that point of view. Like, you're going to drink. Like, the kids are gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So you might as well have them drink in a safe place, right? That's kind of like what this family was like. So, I don't know if I can't remember if it was their dad's whiskey or something like that, but yeah, we just sat around in a circle and just kept passing it around and got smashed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Muslim and I grew up that way, and so drinking was like a big no-no.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah. The thing is with Muslims or anyone who's in a religion that they're devout to, they have a giant sense of purpose and community. So you're way less likely to want to do that.
Absolutely. Like, I know in high school, I think my first experience with drugs was elementary school, where I found out a good friend of mine was smoking weed.
Yeah.
And we might have been in like grade 6.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him like, bro, what the hell are you talking about?
You're
You're
going to hell.
smoking weed.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not even that. It was just like, dude, you're in grade 6. What problems do you have?
Yeah. What are you trying to? What do you got?
Bills are you paying?
What kind of
Like,
exactly? What edge do you have to knock over here?
Right? Like,
Yeah.
we're in grade 6, man. Like, let's go to the playground. Let's
Yeah,
play
yeah.
tag.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you mean you're talking about smoking weed? And then, junior high rolls along, and a lot of close friends who are kind of peripheral as well. Like, they're smoking weed pretty regularly, or, hey, how are you always hanging out with the grade 9 kids? Oh, because I do drugs with them.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I guess I won't be hanging out with grade 9s then.
Yeah.
And then high school rolls around, and people would ask, and having that backbone or kind of base of like, no, I'm Muslim, I can't do that, right? That's just not what we do. And then people, fortunately, in my experience, people being very respectful of that. And I don't know if that had to do with kind of just who I am, like you said, kind of that strong faith connection, or just, I happened to run into people who are very respectful, where no one pushed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they'd ask once, they'd ask twice, and then when they heard like 2 or 3 solid no's, like, they never asked again.
Yeah.
Right?
For the most part, I think it's like that. For most people. For most people, it's like, if the guy's saying no, like, it's whatever. Just go to the next person. Do you want to smoke weed? Do you want to smoke?
Yeah.
No one really cares that much, know. But it's like you had a good solid foundation in religion, where most people that are addicts don't have that. There, of course, there's like addict Christians, Catholics, Muslims. It doesn't, you're gonna find them everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But
I got a lot of uncles that smoke like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. There's lots of
cigarettes. So
yeah.
Alcohol is maybe not our poison, but not that Muslims aren't
Yeah.
addicted to other things.
Of course, yeah. Like there's addiction everywhere. Yeah. So, but on the broader scale, if you zoom out, like there's gonna if you don't have a religion, or you don't have a sense of purpose, or you don't have like even a sense of fear, then you like the fear of God, that is, then you're way more likely to try these things. And if you have that gene in your body where you are likely to become an addict, like, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I had, just like my parent, not that I was no victim, but parents were divorced. There wasn't really.
You said that happened in grade 5.
Happened in grade 5, yeah.
Okay, and then grade 9 is when you have your first sip of alcohol.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever see either of your parents drinking?
Never.
As a kid?
No.
Okay.
Never. I saw, like, my dad would have a beer here and there, but it wasn't like my dad came home from work, had to go to the fridge to drink beer. It wasn't like that. Like, I've never seen my dad drunk. Never seen my mom even drink alcohol. So it wasn't like that. I didn't have that. It's more so. It was more so just me being. I wanted to explore and just, I was always in the cool kid crew. So it was like whatever everybody else was doing in that crew. Yeah. Just like dumb shit like that. So that was like the plan. After grade 9 grad, we were all gonna get together, drink some beer, drink some whiskey, whatever that was. We didn't really know what it was. And from there it was like every so often we would just like teenager stuff, like go drink on the weekends, or if there's a house party, get drunk, and it was just like completely normal. And it was like that for a long time till
it still is.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, for me, no, I don't drink anything at all. But
no, not for you, but in general, like culturally
100%.
speaking.
Yeah.
Like, I've had to tell students plenty of times that like, hey, that's not a conversation for us.
Yeah.
Like you're 15, you shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
Make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're throwing parties. They're getting a hold of alcohol.
Yeah.
They're also making poor choices, but many of them have parents who support and will like drive them home or help friends out, or people will crash at someone's place.
Yeah.
But it is something that seems like it's kind of just existed forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's ingrained in the culture, and I'm not of the opinion that it should go away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't make. I'm more so freedom. I like freedom way more. So I would never say make alcohol illegal. I think if it came out now, it would not be approved. You know what I mean? Like if someone just like showed
invented it today,
yeah, someone invented alcohol and be like, bring this to the market, it probably wouldn't get approved. You know what I mean? Like it does what to you?
Yeah.
The side effects are what? And you know what I mean?
Lowers your IQ, does all this other stuff, makes you impulsive,
endless
makes you violent potentially.
Yeah.
You can, you know, you gain a bunch of weight if you're drinking a lot.
Yeah. Skin gets all messed up. There's all
so many
all kinds of stuff. All kinds of
know.
stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it was just a normal get drunk on the weekends, and you know, most teenagers aren't running from. They don't need to drink to chill out, or they don't need to drink to run from their problems. It's like it's fucking party time. You know what I mean? Let's go. So it stayed like that till I was probably 22, something like that. 22. I was very anti-drug. I was, you know, drink. You could smoke weed. I didn't really smoke weed, but drank every weekend, no problem. Get blackout drunk. Like that's just what we did. But when there was like cocaine, that was starting right in your like 18, 19, 20. Like if you have 10 friends, 1 or 2 is gonna try coke. Like it's kind of like it's starting to show up into your life. And for me, it was like, no, if you're doing coke, like get out of my life. Like I was anti coke, and one day I was drunk at a party, and I was like, fuck, everyone else is doing it. And people that I respected too, by the way, people that I respected that I knew were very successful. There was one guy that had a super nice, like he had a Lamborghini, and I'm like, dude, this guy does coke. He has a Lamborghini. He's gated community. Like he's obviously balling. Like it can't be that bad. Yeah. You know, and that's when I tried it, and then once it went on my nose, I'm like, fuck, I really like this. Like it was really, really good. So, it just turned into this kind of how do I want to describe it? There was like this easy button of I always wanted to get like super fucked up. I was always the drunkest guy, always without question. So I found this other thing that got you like past that, but it sobered you up at the same time. So you went from drunk to high. So you weren't drunk anymore, you were high.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're not like dizzy and like wasted and like, oh my God, like that. It just turns it into something. It's hard to explain, but it's like a 10x adrenaline.
It's a stimulant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you're drunk and you're, like you said, like you're a little woozy and wobbly and you put a stimulant in you, it's going to focus you. Like you're probably not going to feel that, the physical effects of being drunk. Yeah. But you'll still have kind of because another thing we could discuss with young people that do alcohol and people of all ages is it's kind of like a social lubricant as well, right? If you're really wound up and you don't know how to relax and have like, you know, just fun conversations, you get a couple of drinks in you and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, who is this person? Yeah. Right? So I imagine you would still have kind of the social lubricative effects without the physical kind of delays, let's say, of alcohol. Yeah. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're a little bit shy and don't know how to string a sentence together, and you're been drinking, you have like the comfortability of being around people. Like, alcohol makes you feel comfortable. Yeah. But like Coke will make you turn into like Ben Shapiro. You know, like you're Jordan Peterson's and like just like no filler words, just pure dialect. Yeah. So it helps the conversation along.
Those are two such funny examples to use with Coke, given like their lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. But it's true. If you're shy, Coke will help you put some sentences together and socialize and talk to people. But if you're super wasted and you do some lines, like you're not gonna be drunk anymore. Just like levels you out, and then for me, I just went to the high part. Like I just kept doing coke.
Okay, so was there a point where you stopped really being associated with alcohol and just were primarily doing cocaine, or you always did both? Actually,
I mostly did both. Did both. But when I turned into full on addiction, I was just doing coke. So I would have beers, like I'd have like a 6-pack while I was doing like 4 grams of coke, which is a fuck ton, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was getting drunk. It was just more so to like have something.
Yeah.
You know,
to not just be the guy who shows up to the party.
Yeah, yeah.
And
just with coke, like that guy's a problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like at least I had beer.
Yeah.
So.
Like, hey, what do you mean he went straight to the bathroom and did lines? Like,
exactly.
He didn't sit down and talk, have a beer. It's like,
exactly.
No, he's okay.
Yeah. So
interesting. How old were you by the time you were kind of just doing cocaine?
I went from the first time I did it, I was like 22 years old, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I did it. It turned into like every weekend. My social circle changed to people that were doing it every weekend. Because that's the thing about drugs is it's super bad. You know what I mean? They're bad. Yeah. It's bad. It's illegal. A lot of people don't want to be associated with that. So you surround yourself with people that are super comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. Like you surround yourself with people where if you're at a house party, you would go to the bathroom, lock the door, do some coke. And then, months later, if you keep doing it that way, you're going to find yourself in parties where it's just accepted and you can just do it on the counter. Mm-hmm. And the people that aren't cool with coke, they're just not even there. They're just not even invited. They don't even want to go.
Yeah.
So your social circle changes to accept the cocaine more. So therefore, you're more willing to do it.
Yeah.
It's no longer taboo. It's no more. You don't have to hide it.
How would you describe like when you arrive at that place? Like, would it be fair to say like, okay, this is hell?
No.
Or is it that when you're doing it, you're like, this is heaven. This feels like
awesome.
Heaven.
It's
like,
awesome.
I don't have to hide this. I can be myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not hell at all. It's for the. It's
okay.
It's not heaven, right? But it's
and
like,
that's the inside looking out, right?
That's right.
Kind of, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because from from where I'm sitting, it's like, man, if all my friends only did this substance that was incredibly taxing on the body, like I'd be like, shit, man. Like,
yeah. You don't think about
how many left turns did I take in life?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What just happened, right?
You're an introspective person.
Because there was a time I went out. I don't know if I stumbled into my friends or if we went out together, but we met up with some people they knew, and then we went back to the house, and I'm in the living room like playing with the dogs, and I kind of look over my shoulder, and it's like, oh, they're doing coke on the counter. Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna stay here by the dogs.
Yeah,
right. And I'm not even a dog person. Like I'm also brown, right? I'm scared of dogs as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, well.
Yeah.
It's either like watch them do coke and make them feel uncomfortable because I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or just play with these 2 large dogs, right? Like, okay, I'll play with the dogs.
Yeah.
Right? And then it was interesting because if I recall correctly, the guy, him and his girlfriend, like he offered me and I said no. And then there was this bit of dialogue where I guess and I kind of think of this as people asking for permission. It's like, he's kind of making sure it's okay with me that that's happening.
That's right.
And I'm like, man, you do you. Like, I'm going to be over here.
Yeah.
Like, this is your house. I'm not going to tell you what to do in your house.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being a good host and offering, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I have no ill will towards you for doing it. Mm-hmm. I think maybe him and I had a conversation on why he does it and whatnot, but I don't know if that happened. But and I'm pretty sure I was sober the whole night. Like, I don't think I touched anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Other than the dogs.
Exactly, yeah.
So from the inside looking out, it's kind of like, yes, these are my people.
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, would you say that most people in your life would have thought, wow, Anthony's like, he's really far gone. He only hangs out with cokeheads.
Yeah, my true friends were saying that. Like, my real friends that I grew up with were definitely concerned and definitely like, dude, like, I haven't seen you for months. Mm-hmm. Like, and I see that you're out. Like, we're sharing it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. You're out, but like, we're not invited. Like, what's going on? And the reason why I didn't invite them is because I knew that I'd be doing coke later and they'd be uncomfortable with it. Mm-hmm. So I made that decision to go. I was like, I'd rather do the coke than hang out with my real buddies. So like, that's when it starts morphing into, all right, you can't just occasionally have it. You're sacrificing friendship time for cocaine time.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, it's kind of like that the frog in the boiling water, right? Like when you're in it, you don't really realize it.
Yeah.
Right. So
for the people who don't know, the analogy is like, how do you boil a toad? 1 degree at a time.
Exactly.
And you just slowly, it's like, oh, I can't hang out with Bill because, you know, he saw my coke and he freaked out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Bill's off the list, but Henry, like, he was all right with it, so I'll invite him over, but he doesn't like doing coke, so, like, eventually Henry can't hang out. And
that's
then,
right.
Oh, Joe's going to do coke with me. Sweet. Joe can hang out every weekend, and then everyone kind of falls in a spectrum somewhere on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It isolates you.
Mm-hmm.
It isolates you. And then before you it's almost like you blink and now you're with people that do it every day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But several things need to happen first. Like we talked about with your religion and sense of community and sense of purpose. When you have those foundational things, those benchmarks, then you're way less likely to fall into addiction. I didn't have any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I anchored my ship to like my buddies, and they always wanted to hang out with me, and I was fun, and I was always talking to the girls, and I was always like that guy that got us into the clubs and all that kind of stuff. So I went where I was useful. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I went where I was accepted at all times, even if they were accepting something that was not good for me, which was cocaine.
Well, like those skills don't shine in an apartment where it's just you and your boys.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
They shine when people who go out regularly and want to be out and want to have fun and party.
That's right.
And so not only are they valued, but they're appreciated, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So I just kind of like put my sense of purpose into that almost. Mm-hmm. And so I isolated all my true friends, and I got all these drug friends now. And drug friends it's tricky because when you're doing drugs, like cocaine in particular, you're getting endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine. So you're also sharing like oxytocin, right? The love drug. Mm-hmm. So you guys are getting high together. So when you're doing that with other people, you kind of get this like, you get tricked into thinking they're actually like, you're really like almost like family.
Yeah.
They're really tight. You're having these like super deep spiritual conversations that you think in your mind, but really they're about fucking nothing. Mm-hmm. It's all bullshit. But you're sharing this like experience, like you're doing something illegal together. Your brain paths, like all the hormones in your brain and body are all getting fired like crazy. So you're thinking again, like you guys love each other, like you're like family, right? Mm-hmm. So you're more likely to stick with those people, and that's that big thing that cocaine in particular does is it drives away the people that don't do it, and you stick with the people that do it. Yeah. And
I don't know if it's like a male thing or just a human thing in general, but the shared experiences, right? That's kind of what makes jiu-jitsu so fun, and like the brotherhood and camaraderie, because you're sharing this very intimate thing with other people where it's like, hey, I'm trusting you to not,
rip my arm off,
right? I'm trusting you to not keep twisting my ankle when I tap.
Yeah.
That shared experience, right? You're spending hours out every weekend, you're doing something, right? And perhaps you're sharing it, right? So maybe, was there ever like, sometimes you would buy cocaine and sometimes someone else, and you kind of doing each other's supply, or
it was like,
was there a bit of that degree of sharing as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like, right? Yeah, 100%. Like, we all had really good jobs. Like I became a carpenter pretty early. Right out of high school, I started my apprenticeship. So I had a pretty, compared to people that were working A&W or whatever, like a lot of people in high school were, or people going to university right away, and like they don't have money. They're fucking students, right? Yeah. So we always had good paying jobs. So we were always able to get it. But yeah, we would just get like a bunch. And that's a whole other thing too. Like you'd be the guy that had the drugs. There's something sexy about that. Mm-hmm. Like the girls would like it. Like, oh, that's the guy that has like a fucking ounce at his house. Like, let's go to his house. Like, mm-hmm. It was always like those types of people viewed that as high value. Mm-hmm. So you were that guy. Yeah. It was always good to be the guy that had it. Yeah. So another thing that happened to me, like I started selling because of that. I didn't sell because I had no money. I sold for like the reputation and the girls and like.
How old were you when you were doing that?
24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see that on occasion in high school.
Yeah.
And for those exact same reasons, it's like if you start selling, and mostly in high school they're selling weed.
Yeah.
But if you start selling drugs, like your status gets elevated.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's so fascinating. I want to continue what you're saying, and then I'll say something.
Yeah, it's like further to that point, it's like it's dangerous. You're the bad boy, right? It's like you're doing something that rappers talk about. You're doing something that movies put the main character up on a pedestal, like Scarface and and Godfather and Goodfellas and all that stuff. Like you're the guy, right? So it's interesting because people, you almost want to be feared more than you want to be loved, and drug dealers are
I think especially
feared.
like as a man.
As a man, for sure,
right? Because
it's respect.
Yeah,
it's respect. It's like it's a fucked up culture that we have where, you know, it's like that guy that everyone's afraid of, like everyone wants to be him, but I don't think most people actually really do want to be that guy. You know, they may romanticize it, but like you don't have like the real meaningful relationship and love that you should be having if everyone is afraid of you.
My criticism to that would be more that it looks cute and sexy on film.
Yeah.
But in reality, that dude's unstable and he's scary.
Yeah, he's fucking mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've been around gyms, both jiu-jitsu and weightlifting gyms, and there are dudes who are just ginormous.
Yeah.
Like, I remember a buddy of mine, big time weightlifter, and he was explaining to me the difference when he worked as a bouncer between a slap that would kind of stun you and wake you up, and a slap that would put you to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing, having a good time. And despite knowing that this guy could kill me with his hands very easily, I'm not the slightest bit afraid of him because I know he's stable.
Yeah.
And it earns my respect in a whole different way because, like, okay, this guy's like, he's got a good business. He would talk about the importance of being out of debt and what it did to him.
Yeah.
Now he's got a family as well. And, you know, he's in the gym regularly. He's putting in work and he's friendly. He's helping people out.
Yeah.
And, like, especially with masculinity and just anything in general, like, you're going to have those kind of, I guess we can use more religious terms. Like, you have that aspect that goes towards heaven. So respect in a way that's like, hey, this dude's stable. He's strong. He's got a family. He's respectable, right? He does something honest. And then you have the more hellish route of like, yeah, we respect him. We respect him, but that's because if we get on his bad side, he might actually hurt us or kill us.
Yeah.
Right? And so my kind of estimation there is that, like, yeah, on movie screen, Scarface looks sexy.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like, and I guess I don't really think they depict him much as like a lunatic, but if you've watched Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Walter White.
Well, Walter White is, eventually he gets to that point, right?
Yeah.
But like Tuco, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, Tuco, yeah.
Tuco, like that guy's, like, that guy's an accurate representation of we kind of, this respect and fear thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? He's so crazy, like, okay, you don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And therefore he's earned your respect.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I guess we're talking about, like, whether in your high school or early 20s or whenever, really, if you're selling drugs, you're doing something that most people won't, and it earns you some type of respect from other people.
That's right. Yeah. And like, just to touch on that too, what I think people should actually be striving for is the true definition of meek. Like, a lot of people think that meek is as a pushover, right? It got hijacked and turned into that, but like the true definition of meek, is like having a sword and knowing how to use it, but you keep it shielded. So it's like Jordan Peterson talks about that too. You should be a monster, but being in control of it. Yeah. You know, because if you're a fucking psycho, you're just a psycho. You know what I mean? Or if you're incapable of violence, then you're just a pussy. Yeah, you're harmless. You're harmless. Right? Like, that's not what you should be going for. That's not courageous. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So the question and kind of thing I wanted to explore, you did answer that. Like, you have young men, especially in high school. Why do young men want to do this, right? Because it never stuck out to me. And for a variety of reasons, obviously. But it seems like it's kind of like two reasons. Some people do sell for like the money, or I know someone who sold weed just to support their own habit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then other people are selling for the status.
Yeah.
And you know, you listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson, so I feel like you'd understand this line of thought where it's like unearned status.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you didn't do anything to earn the respect or admiration of your male peers and the admiration of the female peers. Like you kind of applied a cheat code.
Yeah.
And now you have all these things that everyone else, every other man guy might take 10 to 20 years to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess shifting back to your story, I'd like to hear, it seems like between 18 and 22, you were in carpentry school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
22, you start doing coke. 24, you said you start selling it.
Yeah.
How did kind of being in the trades, did that play a role at all in getting more comfortable around different types of drugs?
Trades it's an interesting one because it's disproportionately affected. Like the culture in the trades is you work hard, like you work fucking hard, especially if you're like a concrete finisher, commercial carpenter, iron worker, rod buster, pretty much all of them. Realistically, they're all like you have to work really hard at all of them. The culture is after you work, 5 12-hour days or whatever, you go drink beer after. Like, that's just the thing. You go to the pub. You go to the pub, drink, but you don't just drink. Like you get fucked up. Like you get wasted.
You get plastered.
And just like everything, man, there's always going to be a couple guys that do something a little bit more than everybody else, and that in this situation is drugs. So there's always those guys that have a couple beers and then they call their drug dealer, and the coke comes and then they're doing coke, and it turns into this thing where it's like, it's not this like, oh my god, that's cocaine. When I was a kid, I heard that if you did cocaine, your fucking face would melt and you would die, But then you see these people doing it, and it's just like, looks like fun, and they're handling it and whatever. The people that I met that did drugs often were all from the trades, but that's everywhere. That's everywhere. It's disproportionately in construction because the barrier to entry for construction is much lower. Mm-hmm. But in there's you can go downtown and go to a couple law firms, or I guarantee you there's gonna be lawyers that piss dirty if you drug test them. Accountants,
like Wolf of Wall Street really broke that. Right?
Yeah, man. Anyone in the financial district, or 5th Bay Street in Toronto, whatever. Like there's coke there, coke and Adderall and all kinds of stuff. But they have the money to support it, until it turns into a full-on addiction sometimes. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it definitely brought the people to the table that were doing the drugs, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there any connection between your construction company, the time you spent there, and kind of leading you up to worse and worse levels of addiction?
Yeah, but it's not for what you may think. When I started my own company, when I was 23 or so.
That's impressive.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, when I did that, I was really good at it. I did residential construction.
Okay, so you're like building houses? No,
I was doing renovations. Okay, so basement developments and things like that. I was pretty good at it, but I was awful at collecting the money. awful at collecting the money.
Those are two very different skill sets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, just because you're good at the trade doesn't mean you're good at owning a business that harnesses that trade. So the back end was bad. I would make a lot of clerical mistakes, accounting mistakes. Since I was so young in the world of construction and in the world of business, there's a lot of people that thought they could just walk over me and not pay their last 10%, which is all your profit. And there was 3 or 4 jobs in a row where I wasn't getting paid. So my business was failing. And when you just start, like I started my business with like $3,000, which is nothing. Mm-hmm. So I had no float. So I needed to get paid. I needed to get paid right away. And because when I get paid, I reinvest back into the company, and I also get material for the next job out of my profits, pay myself back and continue. And I wasn't getting paid, so I wasn't able to get the next job materials and all that kind of stuff. So my business started failing. Mm-hmm. simultaneously, I was married at the time. I got married young, and I was 22 or 23, whatever, when I got married. That was failing too, because I wasn't able to bring home the bacon too well, because I wasn't collecting, and then I was stressed out. So when I was stressed out, she was also an alcoholic, so she turned into an alcoholic while we were together. So she would get blackout drunk pretty much every single day, and then I started to say, like, my business is failing, you know, screw it, I'm gonna just whatever. I kind of just lived like I had no consequences. I just checked out.
Okay.
It just completely checked out.
Just too many things weren't going together.
Yeah,
like the puzzle wasn't fitting.
The real words is I gave up. That's the real words. I gave up. And from there, I just had no sense of purpose, no sense of self-worth. I was going to be this I don't know why, but for whatever reason, people around me talk me up a lot, which is great. It's great, but there's always like this high expectation from me. Even today, man, I had this bocce ball tournament that I've never played bocce ball in my life, but for whatever reason, people are calling me the ringer. They said I'm going to do really well. I'm like, I fucking never played this game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Italian, but I played bocce ball like 4 times. You know what I mean? And like, I suck. You know what I mean? So that thing was with it in my whole life. You know, the only thing I was really good at was hockey. And even that, like, my family would say, you're going to make the NHL, or my friends would be the same way. And like, I wasn't even close. I played like midget AA. That's if you're not playing midget AAA and you're not the best on your team, you're not making the NHL.
Yeah.
So I always had this like high expectation on me for whatever reason. And I would always, you know, come way under the bar. And same thing with business. Like, I did well in a bunch of arenas, but the arena where I was to collect the money, I sucked at. So I started to fail, and I'm like, oh my God, here's another thing that I'm like starting to fail at. This new thing. Like, I didn't make the NHL, or I didn't make the CFL, or, you know, I didn't make it to pro boxing, or whatever it was. So I'm like, fuck, let's add this to the list too. And it was heartbreaking, and it was annoying, because I'm like, you know, I'm supposed to be this like successful person, and it's not happening. So I just threw the towel in. That's where I was trying to find the self-worth in my whole life, and I thought it would wrap it up into all these different things, and it wasn't panning out. So I just kind of threw in the towel. Like, my wife's an alcoholic, my business is failing, I have no money, and what money I do have left, I'm like, you know, I want some sort of constant thing in my life. And the only thing that I knew that was constant was cocaine. If you do cocaine, you're gonna get high. That's how it works. So I'm like, man, maybe I could feel good, you know, because you do cocaine, you feel like you're, whatever lie you tell yourself, or whatever dreams or desires you have, you can pretend that it's real for moments when you're on cocaine, you know, hours. So I could feel like I was a successful CEO, boss dude that had tons of money and respect from other people and admiration. So I turned to it, and it was all fake, but I knew it was fake, but I didn't care because I still felt it.
Yeah. So
I just kept doing it. I just kept doing coke and drinking, and doing coke and drinking. And like,
were you still trying to run your business while you were doing this? Okay.
No, I sort of was, but I was more sort of running away from everything. I had creditors after me and stuff, because when you don't get paid from your jobs, you have to use your credit card to pay your employees, or pay your material bills, or whatever. And then finally it just ran out. I wasn't even getting any more jobs because I wasn't trying, because I was doing too much coke. I just threw it all in.
Were you working for someone else? Okay.
No, I was so proud.
Whatever money that you had was basically just going into doing cocaine.
That's
and
right.
Then what were you doing for most of the day? Like,
for most of the day, it's kind of, honestly, to be honest, it's kind of a blur.
Okay.
At that time, like when I was starting to fail, I was just kind of like, I would do little side jobs here and there for cash. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Was that mostly to support the habit?
It was to support the habit. It turned into supporting the habit, yeah. So, eventually, like, my wife at the time had enough, and, you know, her and I weren't doing well, so we split up. My ego was so big, and my pride was so big that I didn't want to ask for help, and I didn't want to ask for a job, because I didn't want to be this failure that, like, you know.
Another thing. Like,
man, when you start a business, there's a lot of people that want to see you fail. Like, there's a lot of jealous people, and I didn't want to give them any fuel. Mm-hmm. So I just would, refuse to go back to work. I'm like, I'm not going to go work for somebody else. Like, I can't quit, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, I really quit in real life.
Yeah.
So, my wife left. It was just me alone in my condo. And, just to show you how disciplined I was. I bought my condo when I was 19. Like, I saved up for the down payment. I paid it down, like, lots. Like, 3/4 of it. Okay. Down. Like I paid a lot of it off. Anyways, so I was just like the kind of guy I was. But when I decided to throw in it on the towel, I just turned into the polar opposite. So she left. I threw in the towel. I just kept doing coke, and before I knew it, someone knocked on my door, and it was a bailiff. It's like, hey man, this isn't your house anymore. This is the bank's house. Mm-hmm. Like we're foreclosing on you. So I lost my house. I had a truck that got taken away because I wasn't making payments because it was all going towards my cocaine habit. And now I'm doing like 3 or 4 grams a day. And, I would do it. I wouldn't do it throughout the day. I would do it like at 7 p.m. or something like that. I would start doing the drugs, and then by 3 a.m. I would stop because it would be all out. Mm-hmm. And I would just sit there paranoid for like 4 hours. And it's kind of like just lost it all. And then
were you just up the whole night and you'd sleep during the day?
Yeah. I was up all night, and I would sleep pretty much most of the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd wake up at like 1 p.m. Get up and like try to figure out how I'm gonna get money for my addiction.
Yeah, out of curiosity, like you emphasize 3 to 4 grams, and 4 being a lot. Like normally, for someone who's indulging, how much would they use? Like, let's say this person really just does cocaine once a month. And it's like they go out once a month.
Oh, once a month? Like, those types of guys would be doing like a gram, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
But it's not uncommon for somebody to do an 8-ball, like a 3.5 grams to themselves. Okay. It's not uncommon in that world, right? That's, going back to like surrounding yourself. I quickly found myself in rooms of people that would do an 8-ball to themselves all the time. Yeah. Right. But like if somebody is just doing coke here and there, they're probably doing like a couple lines and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
and how much is this costing you? Like if you're doing 3 to 4 grams a day, like how much?
It was like a $300-$400 a day habit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just on coke.
That is not cheap. Yeah.
So there's also lost opportunity cost to think about, but there's also like, I'm buying beer with it, and there's all kinds of costs with it that are not exactly a straight trade. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Relationship costs, all that stuff. So yeah, about $350-$400 a day on it.
Okay, yeah. And you mentioned you were kind of married for a little bit at that time. How did you and that girl meet?
Another great question.
Okay.
I kind of blacked that out. Friends of friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, friends of friends. She was at house parties, but she had a boyfriend, and I was single at the time, but she had a boyfriend, so I was like, whatever, I'm not that guy. Mm-hmm. So, but then I can't remember. She just slowly came back into my life somehow, and after they broke up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't it's funny, like you hear like, oh, your ex, we didn't have kids together. Yeah. Or anything like that. Like I kind of don't even really remember what she looks like. Like I really blacked that part out of my mind. So, and I'll explain that a little bit later.
Due to the relationship or due to
the time, habit? The habit. Yeah. Like it's I've created like another version of myself, the sober version. Mm-hmm. And I'm really good at compartmentalizing things now. So that part of my life serves me no more purpose. I sucked out all the lessons from it and moved on. Yeah. So I don't dwell on the past. I don't do that. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't think about something, you just forget about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people that you went to high school with that you saw every day.
Oh yeah.
But you wouldn't have no idea what they, if you saw them again, you wouldn't even know who they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd want to kind of add into this background story of yours before maybe we continue on to some other things?
No, that's kind of framed the picture pretty well. We got to the point where I lost everything and became homeless. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm actually curious about that. So it's around that same time, like you mentioned. So you lose your condo, you lose your truck as well.
Yep.
So you're homeless. Like, what do you recall from that period of your life? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, it sucked, obviously.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's odd because I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm homeless. I was still, how the fuck am I going to get my next bag of drugs? That was like,
Okay.
that was the objective every day.
And you were literally sleeping on the street?
I
were
was
you,
sleeping in
like,
like
house to
in a
house?
ravine.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did have some friends that I was like couch surfing with here and there. But you can only do that for so long, right? You know, and no one, my friends never kicked me out. I was just, again, I was so proud. Like, I just didn't want anyone to think I was such a failure. Like, it's funny looking back now, like, did I have them fooled? Absolutely not. Like, I'm wearing the same clothes every day.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Like you're leaving the couch to go sleep in the room, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And they likely know this.
They sort of knew. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I had a 1 year pass to LA Fitness, mm-hmm. So I would walk there and I would shower there and I'd spend like most of the day there, and I would just make sure that I was doing stuff. So I'd lift weights, whatever little weight I could, and to put it in perspective, I was like 210 pounds and I went all the way down to 147, like in no time. So I lost all my strength, you know. Mm-hmm. I would hang out
from the cocaine habit or being homeless.
Well, it's one and the same.
Both.
Yeah. No more drive to work out or any. I literally only had that gym pass because I bought a whole year, and then also I could shower there, and then there was like the saunas, and it's in the winter, it's freezing. I would swim a couple laps or sit in the hot tub, and I would just kill time there. Mm-hmm. And I was just paranoid that people were gonna realize, like, does this guy live here? He's been here for like 4 hours. You know what I mean? So I would make sure I was kind of like doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would do a little bit of couch surfing, but I was like clean because I had showers, and I wasn't homeless. Like, I called myself homeless light. You know, like I was homeless light. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't like on the corner begging for money.
Yeah.
I fortunately had this trade as a carpenter that you know, no one can take that away from me. Mm-hmm. So I was able to like get these kind of gig jobs where I would help somebody make stairs or fix a board on a deck. Like,
because you likely still had contacts in that industry.
Yeah, I still had the same phone number.
Yeah.
Right? So that kind of like saved it as well. So I would do these oddball jobs for cash, which I would just give right to the drug dealer and get my coke. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's. Do you know who Jonathan Pajot is?
No.
He's quite closely associated with Jordan Peterson as well. He's an Orthodox Christian and talks a lot about symbolism, meaning, and whatnot. But, you know, in some of his works, you know, he talks about people who are possessed by things, and you know, your hierarchy gets kind of flipped upside down and you start worshiping the wrong things.
That's
and
right.
You're just completely ruled and governed by this substance. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine, but I'm sure if I was more self-critical and really examined, it's like, okay, there's probably some wacky things in my life that I'm ruled by. Mm-hmm. But it's immensely fascinating that you're paranoid at the gym that people are going to pick up on the fact that you live there somewhat.
Yeah.
You don't have a house, a job, really, but you're still choosing to do cocaine over like, okay, I made like $400 on this job. If I get 2 or 3 more jobs in the next week, I can put together a down payment, and at least I don't have to like do this weird like jumping between the couch, the ravine, and LA Fitness.
Yeah. It's not even a thought to not think about cocaine at this time. It's not even a thought. And to explain addiction to someone who is, in my opinion, blessed to not have that gene of addiction, it's like it's kind of akin to, and obviously I'm not comparing it in a stolen valor way, but imagine someone who's been through war trying to explain war to someone who hasn't been through war. It's impossible.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. You don't feel that feeling, right?
No, and I pick up on something like that often when I'm teaching, right?
Yeah.
And like the older I get, the more I've experienced, the more kind of curveballs that life has thrown at me.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to children, they express themselves, and it's great, right? I teach social studies, so it's important they learn to question their ideas and articulate themselves. But then when I'm listening to them, sometimes it's like, wow, if only I could go back to when I was that naive, right?
Yeah,
I knew that little about the world.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, same situation for someone who's been in war and not been in war, or addiction and not addicted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you just simply can't articulate it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I cared about. I just wanted to get high the next time, because it turns into, you know, it's a party drug, it's fun, it's great. You have all these friends, all these, you know, these girls like you, that like the bad bitches type girls, they'll like you. And then those types of people can kind of moderate, let's say, and then out of the people that can moderate, there's the people that can't moderate.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. And then it turned into this other addiction, and now you're full on addict, and it's not fun anymore, but you're doing it just to feel normal. Because if you don't, you have to face the music, and addiction wants you scared and alone. So you isolate yourself from everybody else, you know, and they also isolate themselves from you, because who wants to hang out with someone who just wants to do 4 grams of coke every single day?
Yeah.
Like, not many people.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You're not very fun at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that my whole existence was around the fact that I needed to get high.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you're going around couch to couch. These are the couches of your true friends, I'm assuming?
Not really.
Okay.
No. There was one that is a true friend that was like very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Very concerned. But I kind of have like I'm not like this anymore, but I have like a bullish way of me, like where I can be like that still, like where I'm like, you know, if I want to start another business, or if I want to, like, if I have a goal, like I'll make sure it happens or get fucking damn close to.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so I'd be like, just don't fucking ask me any more questions about it. That's
mm-hmm.
it. I can be assertive like that.
Yeah.
And with him, he's like, all right. He's kind of like, all right, I'm concerned about you though, and I'd be like, just don't worry about it. Like, just don't worry about it. And I think he knew that the more he pressed, the further away I would get from him. So he kind of had to do this dance that he never asked to be a part of. You know, just to keep make it so I wouldn't run away. You know, but like,
yeah,
you can still see me.
Yeah.
The other ones they're just more so like the guys that could regulate, do coke here and there. But yeah, you can crash my couch a couple days. But I would just do it for a couple days, and I'd be like, that's it. It's all I needed, and I'll leave. You know, so that's what I would do. And
did you have kind of the same cycle of people you'd see, or was it?
I only couch surfed like 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was I didn't go to the same place. The only time I went to the same place twice was my really good friend, but he thought I was just hanging out, which I was, but I also needed a place to stay.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be like, oh, you mind if I crash here? And he'd be like, yeah, sure, man. And we would just get drunk and whatever.
How long did this period last in your life?
1 year.
A year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost a full year.
So you were primarily sleeping in the ravine then?
Yeah.
What did you do in winter?
So being in construction, I had to work outside, right?
Yeah.
So I had a Helly Hansen minus 55 degree, like onesie.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like a sleeping bag.
It's like a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like no problem. Like it's cold, but it's not. It's kind of no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Little fire.
And the perks of working the trade.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like it gives you survivability skills.
Yeah.
Like,
It makes you construction kind of makes you tough anyway, right?
Oh yeah, like all the trades.
Yeah.
In construction specifically.
Yeah.
Like
and
I heard.
I was a concrete finisher, carpenter too.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing we do is light. It's all hard work.
Yeah.
There's chemicals everywhere. It's like
and it's outdoors.
It's outdoors. You have to just work outside for 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get a 30-minute lunch break.
Yeah, and you're on your feet too.
You're on your feet walking.
Or like
yeah,
you're like crawling on all fours or whatever.
Yeah.
Hunched over.
On the days,
none of which is fun.
Exactly.
Beyond like 6 minutes.
Yeah, the days that were like record breaking. That's when I would go to, you know, like a 24-hour gym, pay a drop-in fee of like, at the time, $10, and go shower and whatever, hide out in the locker room.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shout out to Helly Hansen.
Shout out to Helly Hansen, indeed. We kind of eased into some of the second questions here as well. Are there any other costs of addiction that people might not be aware of? Because
oh yeah, man. Yeah, there's
the anecdote that I wrote down here, and I don't know if this person was addicted, but I saw this on Instagram, and this girl talked about how kind of in this period of her life where she wasn't able to take care of herself. And I don't know if this was depression or addiction or both. Like, it wrecked her teeth.
Yeah.
And I believe she was saying she has dentures now. She has fake teeth.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that post going, it would never even have occurred to me. Like, you know, and now, like, in this area, there's a lot of homeless people, and quite frankly, they're, like, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've never once thought about their dental health.
Yeah.
Right? Which, once you lose it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a bunch of fake teeth, too.
Okay.
And it's from my addiction. So, cocaine in general, so it's made and cured and processed with acetone, gasoline, kerosene. So when it goes up your nose and you get, it's called the drips, it goes into the back of your throat a little bit. That liquid has acetone, kerosene, and gasoline in it, and just destroys your teeth enamel. So my teeth enamel got wrecked. And also, once it starts getting wrecked, you can only have like soft food, which is all like sugary food, ice cream, like applesauce.
Can you even have cold food? Like, if you don't have the enamel on?
I think some people, I didn't struggle with that.
Okay.
Ice cream was my go-to. I had ice cream every day. I had ice cream every single day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the only perk. Yeah, I had ice cream every day because it was like $2 for a Klondike drumstick thing, and you get calories and.
Yeah, is that also a consequence of, because, like, I remember there was these two guys in high school, and they would be working out like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And I remember they lost a lot of weight pretty rapidly. And I remember telling my friend, like, bro, this guy's up here every day, like, and he's losing weight. Like, what the hell is going on? He's like, GB does coke.
Oh.
And I remember looking at him like, and again, just like my friend Ben in like grade 6, I remember thinking to my friend Connor at the time, like, bro, what are you talking about? We're in grade 11.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing coke for?
Yeah.
Like, what, you know, like, for me, again, it was so alien that I was like, what the hell is going on in that person's life that they need coke for?
Yeah.
Like,
they
you know,
don't. But yeah.
And maybe, of course,
yeah.
right? And maybe it's just, you know, I'm quite extroverted. So being at school was also being around my friends and people in general. And so I got a lot of enjoyment out of that. Schoolwork itself was whatever, but like the fact that my buddies are there, I get to see all these people, was very exciting for me. So looking through that framework is kind of like, what do you need drugs for? Like,
yeah,
there's so much fun shit going on every day that, you know, so the ice cream consumption, is that also like a kind of unintended consequence of just this drug is taking so much energy from you?
Yeah.
You need high calorie food.
It wasn't, I wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't thinking that way. It was.
Well, I guess, like, is that, like, I guess the unintended.
The
like,
unintended,
you're just like, man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hungry. What can my teeth handle?
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I couldn't fathom having a steak, nor could I afford it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what about McDonald's?
Yeah, McDonald's was too far away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like.
Yeah.
It wasn't close to
near
me.
you.
Yeah. Like, I just kind of like, you know, you get super
but in
lazy.
terms of like, because you said you can't eat hard food. Like, would a double cheeseburger be too?
No, I'd be good.
Hard or
no, that'd be fine. That would have been fine.
Okay.
But you get in addiction, you get extremely lazy unless it's for your drugs. Unless it's for your drugs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you don't brush your teeth. You don't care about anything, man. You don't care about anything.
Other than the drug.
It's right. Brush your teeth is whatever to you. Walking to get healthier food is you're not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. But if the drugs dealer says, I can't come to you, but you can come to me and I'm 10 kilometers away, you will fucking run there like Usain Bolt. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. There's insane things that you'll do, and when you're in active addiction, that you would never do sober. Never do sober. I went to the Dominican Republic for a vacation, and this was while I was still doing cocaine, like on the weekends, and I still had a job. I didn't even start my business yet, but still had lots of money.
Early 20s.
Yeah. But I knew I was getting addicted. Like I knew, like I had that. my sense of purpose was still high enough that I didn't do it every day, but I also knew that I enjoyed the cocaine. So the addiction was starting. It was like the beginning of it. And this is shortly after the massive earthquake that just decimated Haiti, which is attached to the Dominican.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was in like 2010 or something.
Yeah.
So we all get drunk, obviously, because we're on vacation at a all-inclusive. And I went outside of the club, or the disco they called it, and I'm like, I'm going to go find some coke. My buddy's like, dude, no way. There's no way. Like, it's nighttime. We're in a foreign country.
A dangerous country,
fucking
too.
Dangerous as
Yeah.
hell. Just that day, we saw a guy steal a moped from another guy, and the guy who had got the moped stolen took a machete and threw it at the guy's neck. We saw right in broad daylight.
Did he?
He hit him in the neck. He was bleeding. He just kept driving. I have no idea what happened to him. He just kept going.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And that night, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'm gonna go find some coke. So I found a guy. Looked at a guy, and he's like, "What do you need?" And I just pointed out my nose, and he's like, "Come with me." I jumped on the back of his moped, and we drove into the jungle. Like it was street lights, and then no street lights, and then no buildings, and then no other vehicles, and then.
Is there ever a point where there's no road?
There was there was nothing. We turned off the road, went onto like a trunk road, which is all gravel, and then went into this like abandoned hotels that were overgrown with foliage, just completely overgrown. And then there was the dealer there and gave me my stuff. I gave him the cash, and then we came back on the moped and. Like, I was gone for 45 minutes.
It's crazy that he wasn't just like, all right, start walking.
Exactly. He drove me back,
yeah.
Which is crazy. But I think it's because he knew that I would because he gave me his number.
Yeah.
He's like, come back tomorrow, kind of thing, right? Okay. So he could get like a
better
week's
to keep
worth
a client.
Exactly. So, to me, I just thought I was getting my coke. I didn't care.
Okay, so in that moment, because you said you were gone for 45 minutes, it was about a 20-ish minute ride each way.
Yeah.
At no point were you thinking to yourself like, I'm in trouble, I'm in danger?
Oh yeah, when we got there I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's like flashlights and like hand signals, people coming out of the jungle. I'm like, holy shit. So.
Did you ever think maybe you were getting got? Like, oh man, like this guy is like finding random people who are tourists, and like now it got in the sense of either the military or police, like, let's arrest this guy.
Yeah.
Or just gang members being like, hey, let's like extort this.
Yeah, I thought maybe that they were just gonna take my cash.
Yeah. Because
it makes business wise it makes more sense to keep me unharmed, thinking that I'm gonna come back for more, which is fine. Which is why they asked me. Luckily, it was the first day, because if they asked me on the 7th day when we were gonna leave the next day, then maybe they would have just jumped me.
Just rob you.
I'm not gonna get any more money out of this guy. So
rob you and drop you back off where you were.
Yeah. But addiction does that. Addiction is like you do it. Addiction doesn't do it, but it tricks you into thinking it's an okay idea. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was a time there where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to grab this guy's neck and break it, because I'm gonna have to kill him and run away. I don't know. What am I gonna do? So, yeah.
And then you're in the jungle, so it's like,
yeah.
Even if you did do that, it's like,
now what? I don't know.
Despite the fact that you're only a 20-minute drive away, it's like. Yeah. You don't know where you are.
No idea.
Direction, and it was pitch black. Yeah.
No idea.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it makes you do some wild stuff, but yeah, the associated costs with addiction are you do things like that, right? Like you do risky behavior. Your teeth get all messed up. Your metabolic health gets messed up. You lose a relationship with your family. You lose a relationship with your true friends, yourself. It's there's no net positive there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is the consequence, like on your nose and your like sinuses and everything from years of?
I got pretty lucky. I didn't have anything with my nose.
Okay. Is that something that does happen to
some people? Deviated septum, or sometimes they'll get a hole in between, like the part that goes down the middle. Okay. Sometimes there'll be a hole there because it burns it away. Because again, it's acetone, gasoline, kerosene.
That's interesting. You should say deviated septum, because I used to have one.
Yeah.
And mine was like a birth defect.
Yeah, I remember. You got you had surgery,
yeah.
right? Like not too long ago.
Probably about a year and a half.
Yeah,
right?
I remember. Yeah.
But that triggered a funny memory. Like I went to 18 to 22. I was at the U of A.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, and this one day, kind of probably around October, typical Alberta day where it's nice and like crispy during the morning. It's like hot during the day, and then very cold at night. And I think I showed up at the university like midday, so it was warm. Didn't dress properly. It's evening time. I'm on the bus. It's packed. So I'm at the front standing and I'm sniffling because I'm cold.
Yeah.
And some guy who was likely homeless or whatever comes on the bus, sees me, hears me sniffle like twice.
Yeah.
And starts going off about like my cocaine habit.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking to myself, like, dude, how clueless are you? Like, I have like no clothes on and it's cold outside.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that maybe he saw my deviated septum and was like, this guy's a cokehead.
Yeah. There's a saying in sobriety that I like, and it's like, a fisherman always sees another fisherman from afar, you know? So
yeah,
you can, you really pick up on it. It's a whole culture, the drug game, you know, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. And that guy was a little shorter than me too, so he might have been able to see my nose better.
Yeah.
Right.
Funny.
Before we ease into the next question, I'll just make the anecdote that, you know, on my desk over there is Dante's comedy, the Divine Comedy. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Dante's Inferno?
I have.
So, in the Inferno, he goes further and further down to the depths of hell. Mm-hmm. My question to you is, when and how did you know that you would hit rock bottom?
When I decided to kill myself, that's rock bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. So my family was...
And how old were you?
20s. Like 20...
Okay.
I don't remember.
Probably between 25 and 30?
2014.
Okay.
Yeah. 26. Something like that. Somewhere in there. Yeah, 2000.
That checks out because you're 7 years older than me, and I graduated high school 2014.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My family, so my dad, my stepmom, my stepbrothers, and then my sister, they were going to Hawaii, and I was supposed to come. My dad arranged the ticket. He knew, as far as he knew, my business failed, and I was down in the dumps, but I was just scraping by, and whatever. Every time I went to a family function, I would either walk there or I'd get him to pick me up, but I would go back to my condo but I would get him to pick me up at the door, like the front door. So he still thought I lived there. So I had a lot of people fooled for a long time. So he bought me the ticket to go to Hawaii, and I'm like, I just can't live like this anymore. I can't. This is hell.
When you say live like this, do you mean like living a lie?
But living a lie, being homeless, having my only sense of purpose just getting coke, just being just like a virus, I was just like a virus, and I was depressed, and I was like, this isn't what life's supposed to be like. But I also thought there's a greater chance of me jumping to the moon than me becoming sober. Okay. Right?
So you were utterly hopeless.
Utterly hopeless. Hopeless. Okay. Like there isn't even half a percent of like, I'm gonna get better. It was like, I'm fucked. There's no way. So what I decided to do was wait until my family went to Hawaii, and then I was gonna kill myself while they were in Hawaii, because like the irrational thinking I had as an addict was, I thought that I was being courteous, where I'm like, hey, I'll kill myself here while you guys are in paradise, or at least you guys are all together and in paradise, and like the best case scenario, right? Yeah. Which is like insane, but I rationalized it that way. That's like a perfect view of what an addict thinks like. By the way, it's like, I thought that was a great idea. I thought I was being like selfless, and because when you look at suicide itself, you look at it like it's selfish, because it is. You leave this wake of shit behind, and your family has to mourn you for the rest of their lives, and you get to just be dead. Yeah. You know, from the perspective of the person committing suicide, what they think, and I guess I can only speak to myself, but I would assume other people, I thought I was ridding myself of like ridding myself of the world. I thought that it was better that I was gone. You know what I mean? So I thought I was being selfless, which is the opposite of what it actually is. I thought I was being the courteous guy who was doing the right thing by killing himself so that everyone else can ease on and no one has to worry about Anthony anymore because he's dead. Yeah, it's going to be hard at first, but like you'll get over me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's what was going through my head. And the moment that I had no problem, I couldn't get a hold of a gun. I tried, and my buddy knew what was going on. I asked him to let me hold it, and he let me hold it, but it was tagged out, so I couldn't load it or anything like that. Yeah, because
you're supposed to have like a lock over the trigger mechanism.
That's right, like through the chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then out, so you can't load the magazine through. So anyhow, he wouldn't let me do anything with it, and I'm like, whatever. I'm not gonna kill myself in his house with his gun. I would never do that to him.
In front of him, potentially.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever. So then what I decided to do was I had a side job lined up from like a contact of a contact, and it was a good paying one at the time. Good at the time. I made like $600 or whatever. And
for like a day's work, or
I think it took me a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the profit was, I was gonna have $600 cash in my hand.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sweet, that's like a great amount of coke. So I ended up getting like half an ounce or something like that, which is like 14 grams. So I got half an ounce. I got a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I got a bunch of sleeping pills in blister packs. So I like took a bunch of the sleeping pills, and then I did a ton of coke and Jack Daniels, and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. It's like to go out like a rock star. I'm just gonna keep going until I like pass out, and then if I pass out, I'll probably die. My body will shut down. And the fact that I had no problem doing that was obviously crazy. I'm like, yeah, like let's get this done, right? But obviously we're here, so it didn't work. But in that time, my vision started going like going crazy, and I like saw this light illuminated in like off to the corner, and it didn't talk to me like I really wish it did, because it would be an epic story, but it didn't. But what happened is, whatever it was, I'm Catholic, so whatever it was is, I think it was God putting it on my heart, like son, you're supposed to be here. Like, this isn't your time. So like, I'm just gonna bring you back. So my vision it was like, and then it started getting slower and slower and slower and slower, and then it stopped, and then I started feeling better, and like my airways cleared up. Like I was having difficulty breathing because my body was shutting down. It cleared up, and it felt like I put like Vicks up my nose. Like it was like just clear. And then that planted a seed where I'm like, okay, if I didn't die there, then maybe I am supposed to be here. You know what I mean? So I kept, I'd love to say and then I sobered up, but it didn't happen. I did drugs still, but I did it less frequently. I'm like, what was that? That whole question of what was that was infinitely bigger than my drive to do weed, or to do coke. Yeah. So I listened to that more, right? So I ran out of money again, like I always did. Run out of money, and it just so happened that I was in the 7-Eleven, so I used to sleep in this ravine, but there was a 7-Eleven close by, so I would sleep behind there sometimes, and then that's where I would get my ice cream or candies or water or whatever. And I was day 3 of no drugs. So day 3 of no drugs, when you do it every day, you slowly start getting your brain back. I call it getting your brain back because you're in active addiction. The devil is hijacking your brain. It's kind of rented your brain out. Day 3, you start thinking like yourself again and clearing up. And a buddy of mine who wasn't a buddy at the time. He's just an acquaintance. I barely knew him. He came in there. Just so happened to be, he's like an extremely devout Christian. And he looked at me, and last time he saw me, I was like 50 pounds heavier and like full of muscle, like not, you know. And he's like, dude, what happened to you? What's going on? And for whatever reason,
he's at the 7-Eleven.
He's at that 7-Eleven just getting gas.
Yeah. And
he saw me, and I'm like, for whatever reason, I just ended up just telling him the truth. And I just told him everything. And he's like, okay. He's like, do you want to come stay at my place? And I was like, yeah. Like God was like, go with him. It's like he sent him. And he's like, you need to go with him. Because for like the chances of him being there while I was there are so low, because he doesn't even live in that part of the town.
Yeah.
But it just worked out. So yeah, he was a tile setter, and he needed a carpenter because he was doing renovations and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'll do your baseboards and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, perfect. And then I said, you can't give me any money. Like, just, if I do money, if you give me money, I'm going to do drugs. So he's like, okay, sounds good. So we just had this deal where I just stayed with him.
What made you want to be so honest in that moment?
I'm not sure. It was just like, it was just a voice in my head.
Okay, just a continuation of the vision, the divine intervention.
Yeah. The
honesty kind of in that moment.
Yeah.
At 7-Eleven, and then you just continued that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when have you ever stuck up for somebody?
Possibly. Not that I can recall in the moment, but
it's like, you should do it. You should say something, but you might get beat up, or you might get made fun of, or you might get and it's like,
I've certainly applied honesty as a policy over the last several years, and I've told things to my bosses of like, hey, I did this in class, and like, this is why a certain thing is happening.
Yeah.
And I've told myself, I think I probably got this from Jordan Peterson and Faith and a couple other places, that like, no matter the consequence, the truth is always worth it.
Yeah.
And I've tried to apply that.
Yeah. Exactly. So the reason why I told the truth there was, it was the same thing for like sticking up for somebody, like, or telling the truth. It's right. So you do it. You're sick and tired of doing the other thing, the lies. So you're like, I'm going to try this honesty thing out. And I knew that I needed to do it. So I did it. And he accepted it with open arms. And again, like, if he were just like a regular person, non-believer, atheist, whatever, he'd just be like, oh, it sucks, man. Probably he'd be like that. But something told him to tell me, get my car. Let's go. Yeah. So I stayed at his place. And he was actually living with another good buddy of mine. That guy was a little bit closer to me. So they took me in, and I just kind of sat there, and I'm like, listen, this is what's going on. I'm a drug addict. Anything I say to you about leaving this house is an absolute lie. I'll be going to try to find drugs, and I'll fucking get them. So,
what did that feel like? Because that's confession.
Yeah, massive relief.
Okay.
Yeah, massive relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew it was the right thing. I knew it was the right thing to do. So I did it, and it's kind of like doing drugs. You're like, I'm gonna try this thing out, and hopefully, if I like it, like,
hey kids, get in. We're doing truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna try this whole truth thing out, because the lies don't work.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the way to do it. Like, this is how I'm actually gonna get help. It's just like jiu-jitsu. If you are hiding the fact that you don't know how to do a certain move, you're never gonna learn it. If you keep lying about, doing that move, you're never gonna get it right. But if you actually say, like, I can't put my hand here, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, professor is gonna be like, try this, and you'll get it right. Right? But if you keep lying and saying, like, yeah, I get it, I understand the drill, 100%.
Yeah.
You're never going to get better.
At Frontline, it's sometimes funny for me. I get in awkward situations of, cause, like, you come home from a long day, you're kind of zoned out, and it's like, I'll just pair up with a white belt, be like, man, I wasn't paying attention, I have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, dude, I started a month ago. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. Let me watch this guy for like 2 minutes. Sorry, man.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I'd rather be honest than be the blue belt that gets perceived as like, okay, this guy's ass. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Just tell the person, like, man, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, dude.
The truth is an easier pill to swallow.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Like you can, yeah, again, back to jiu-jitsu, you can just be like, I wasn't paying attention. And they're going to be like, all right, here's the drill. Cool. But if you're just like trying to like look over and lie and, you know, everybody else can be like, dude, this guy sucks. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah. And you know, the same would go with just training partners. It's like you kind of get to know who's really good. And it's like, if you just dodge the truth of how much better people are than you just won't grow, right?
Yeah.
You'll find the people that you can beat, and you'll stick to those people, and you'll always be at that level.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Exactly.
So you started trying out this radical truth, telling the truth, and so you have this moment, kind of like confession, in their living room of just telling them like what the last few years of your life have been like.
Yeah.
And then you tell them like, what did you say about leaving the house exactly?
Said if I leave the house, it's only for one reason. It's to go get drugs.
Okay.
You know, so we made this deal where it's like, I can leave the house. Obviously, I'm not getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
But like, you guys got to come with me.
Yeah.
But also, don't let me leave your sight, because I'll be like, the addiction wants to live. It's like Lord of the Rings, man. The ring wants to be found. Mm-hmm. Like you wanna, you know, and I relapsed quite a bit when I was there.
And your choice of words earlier, like, you know, being a virus, right? Like viruses are the same way. Like the end of your sickness, you start sneezing, you cough a lot more. It's basically, I had this epiphany, and I don't know if virologists agree with this, but just, you know, I observed once I was very sick. Towards the end of it, I'm coughing, sneezing, and just porous stuff. And it's like, oh, this thing's trying to live.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to find somewhere else to latch onto because my body's killing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for you, it's as soon as you're out of the house, out of sight, out of mind, right back to the drug.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Because that stuff doesn't just go away. It's a different type of memory. That like addiction, places you go, people you see, can like there's triggers everywhere, right? So, part of cocaine is it's dopamine, so it's an anticipatory feeling. So I liked the setup. I liked, you know, texting the dealer, and then the dealer texts you back, and they say they're outside your house, and you go and you get it, and it's bad, and it's fucking illegal, and you set it up in your house, and you set up that line, and then, you know, you do it, right? Like all that stuff, I loved all that stuff. Yeah. So go like finding out. It was like a game. Like, how can I still get my coke while these two people don't find out, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I did that lots. I did that lots. Like, you know, I would text somebody, and I would do a lot at you know, Canadian Brew House on the south side. I would text somebody and be like, hey, I'm with my buddies. These people can't know, so come here. I put the money in the, you know, behind the scent of the wall. Like there's like a wall center, so it would like mist out whatever, lemon lime or something. I put the cash in that little thing you can open and just put it right back in there. And then they'd be like, okay. The dealer would walk in, not look at me. He'd put it in the spot, and then he would leave. And then like 10 minutes later, I'd go to the bathroom, and then I would have my drugs. And I would be obsessed with how I could be sneaky with it. Yeah.
Okay. So how long did this period last where you were kind of like on and off with the drugs? Because it seems like now you've entered into this phase of your life where you're on the path to recovery.
Yeah.
But still stumbling, as everyone does.
Yeah.
When did the recovery get very serious?
That when I met my wife.
Your current wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I met her, it was like I wasn't doing drugs like I did. It was like a relapse once every couple of months, which for me was infinitely better. Like a guy who does drugs every day and then dialing it back down to like once every couple of months is like night and day. Right?
Yeah.
Then when I met her, I got real serious because she was like not put up with that type of behavior, high quality woman. And I'm like, I'm not going to screw this up.
Yeah.
And actually, the day that we decided that we're going to start going on dates, like, you know, after I asked her on the date and she said yes, the same day I got a gym membership. Because I'm like, I gotta be the best I can be for this person. Yeah. And that's what like really motivated me to get sober. Yeah.
The effect that women have on men is so fascinating.
It is fascinating, yeah.
Because it seems like almost at that point, that last push was like, for the love of this woman, I would give up all these other things.
Yeah. And sobriety is interesting like that because you need a initial motivation. Mm-hmm. But that initial motivation cannot be the like nucleus of your sobriety. It has to be from you. And the reason why is like, let's say you meet this girl and you want to become sober, and now you're sober because this girl won't put up with it, and then she dies.
Or leaves you.
Yeah.
Right. Or cheats on you.
Yeah. Now
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Now you're just gonna go back to addiction because like that anchor is not there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And for you, would you describe the anchor as that kind of that night where you tried to take your life and you saw that vision? What was your anchor?
When I found out she was pregnant. When I found out she was pregnant, it was like, all right, this using this mm-hmm. addiction will only take your life if you let it.
Yeah,
you're here for other reasons now. You have a job to do.
You're of service.
That's right.
Would you say?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is no coincidence that in the 12-step program, which I don't do AA. I did a different way. Step 12 is acts of service. Mm-hmm. So when you become sober, now you have to help other people become sober. So mm-hmm. Service is a big one. But yeah, it's like I look at my son and my daughter. I'm not gonna screw that up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's not even a question. Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of like a multiple part answer where it's like my anchor is my kids, but it's also my wife, but it's also my sense of purpose, which are my kids, but it's also I know what life looks like in the realm of addiction, and I don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. So, if my whole family left me and moved to another country, and for whatever reason I was stuck here, I still wouldn't use because I know what that looks like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did faith help you, and how does it help you today?
Faith is I left it for a long time. Don't know why, to be honest.
You're talking about kind of earlier life.
Yeah, like Catholicism.
Okay.
It's like I'm Catholic, but I just say I'm a follower of Christ. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of religion is man-made mm-hmm. stuff. There's Family Guy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in there was the 10 Commandments. And he's like, and Peter was Moses, and he got the 10 Commandments, but there's actually 11. Yeah. And he's like, and Peter gets to be first in all the buffet lines. So it's like, yeah. What it means is, a man-made rule can be applied to faith mm-hmm. and used disingenuous.
Yes.
So I had problems with like obviously the Catholic priests and pedophilia, like that epidemic that was happening. I'm like, F this, like this is disgusting. I don't want to be associated with that religion, right? So I went away from it, and then I started not to believe in God. I started to think more so like evolutionary, and that we're here from apes and the Big Bang and mm-hmm. all that kind of stuff, because I just thought it was silly, right? Yeah. And then it's hard to go through what I went through, and I'm no victim by any means, but it's hard to look at that and not believe in God, in my opinion. Yeah. Like I did enough cocaine, sleeping pills, and alcohol to kill a horse probably. Mm-hmm. Didn't die. The one person that would be willing to... I've never met somebody like that. His name's Daniel. I've never met, to this day, somebody like that. To meet the one person in the 7-Eleven at that one time on day 3, so I was able to tell the truth. I think that's like 1 in a million, you know, maybe more. There's just so much divine intervention where it was hard for me to ignore. So, you know, moving forward, being the type of person I want to be, that's where faith comes in. Like, okay. I really do think, as much as I can, because I'm still a human, like, what is taught? Like, what's in the Bible? What would Jesus do? Like, what is the right thing to do here? And I get tested lots. Like you know, there's plenty of times where, you know, there's somebody that just lost their temper on me the other day because I was going down this one way and I didn't even... I saw that it was a one way, but it was like a back alley. So I could like go on the right side of the road so I could park. I'm like, whatever, like who cares? No one's going to care. And this guy came out and he was like, you effing stupid idiot. Yeah. And one of my triggers to like make me really, really upset is being called stupid. Yeah. And that guy like said everything. And my heart rate didn't even change. I'm like, whatever, man. Whatever. You get mad all you want. Here's my other cheek. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah. I'm a dad. My boy. I could be like, you made my boy scared. I'm going to get out and, you know, some work blast a double on you and I can put you in a rear naked choke. Like, but I didn't even, I was just like, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. That's not what a man of God would do. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of, that's the role it plays. It just tries to, it's like a good North Star for me. Yeah.
So just being respectful of time, I'll just make the closing thoughts, just a question of, to orient this back to, you know, any high schoolers or parents watching this, you know, what advice would you give to someone who's in high school or a parent of someone who's kind of around that age where they're going to start experimenting? Yeah. What would you say to that person in order to kind of guide them and potentially prevent someone from spending the next 5 to 50 years just in this sunken hole? Yeah. So I'll address the teenagers first and then I'll do the parents after. So if you're in high school and the people around you are starting to do drugs, you know, I'm not like the anti-alcohol crusader. I'm not the anti-drug crusader, you know. I'm like more so freedom and education. But what I can tell you is the pedestal that these people are being put on, where that's like the badass that sells drugs, or like that's the cool kids are doing the cocaine in the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. If you put your values on that type of pedestal, everybody else is going to pass you. Everybody else is going to pass you. Because every one of those guys, none of them are successful now. None of them, man. When I look back to my high school days where the guys that were a little bit older and they're doing drugs and alcohol frequently and it's cool and they're the badasses and all that kind of stuff. They're 35 years old. They're check to check. They can't hold a job down. They got like 2 baby mamas. They're paying child support. They went nowhere. They went nowhere. And everyone who was not cool enough to go to those parties and stuff are in really nice homes. They have really good careers, and they're driving the cars that these gangsters kind of, you know, thought that they were going to get with selling drugs. If you sell drugs here, you're going to get caught. It is 100%. You're gonna go to jail, and you're going to get beat to death, most likely. The jails are ran by, you know, Red Alert and all the other gangs in there, and you better fit in with one of them, or if you fit in with one, you're going to get beat up by the rest. Like it's jail is not fun, man. And if you are thinking that you want to try hard drugs and all that kind of stuff, just understand that there's a chance that you have the genetic disposition to be an addict, and if it runs in your family, the chances are higher. So don't experiment with that. Like, don't mess with that. Like, it's such that's a crazy game of Russian roulette, you know, right? It's like, I'm going to try to do cocaine with the off chance that I'm not going to get addicted to it. There's a reason why people get addicted to cocaine, because it hijacks your pleasure centers. And it's not a moral, addiction is a disease. It's not a moral problem,
right?
Yeah.
Addiction is a disease, using is a choice. And if you use enough, you're going to turn it into the disease of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So don't even mess with it. Don't even mess with it. Yeah. And then to the parents, you got to be approachable. That's the biggest one. That's the biggest one.
I just saw your video on Instagram about that recently. I really liked it. Yeah.
Thank you. If you're not approachable, the kids are going to lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you demonize drugs and alcohol more than they need to be demonized, they're going to think you're a liar and they're going to continue to do it. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you say, oh, if you smoke weed, your face, like in the 90s or late in the early 2000s, if you smoked weed, your face is going to melt away and you're going to become a drug addict. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Yeah.
That's not what's going to happen.
You're going to raid the pantry.
Yeah. You're going to eat like crazy and you might get a little paranoid or whatever.
Or a lot, right? Some people do have that.
Yeah, so if you have a disposition for psychosis, it can definitely invigorate bipolarism. Like that's small percent, but it's true.
And schizophrenia, I think.
Schizophrenia, yeah. That's actually what I meant to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Schizophrenia, not bipolar. The other and you tell the truth about the effects. You don't overinflate it, right? Be approachable so that if your kids are hanging out with kids where cocaine was present, they can be like, Mom, Dad, like I was at this house party and cocaine was present. If you freak out, be like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me at the time? And well, they have their reasons why they didn't tell you at the time. Because if they just whip their phone out and say, Dad, you have to pick me up, there's cocaine here, you're going to call the cops. They're going to be ostracized from school. There's multiple reasons why they didn't tell you in the first place that second. Just be happy they're telling you now.
And they're still processing it in the moment.
100%.
Right? They're probably like, holy shit, my friends do this. What do I make of that?
Exactly.
And they're restructuring their whole existence with that person now in their mind.
Exactly.
They don't have time to think about calling Mom and Dad unless they really need to get out of it right now. Like, hey, you need to pick me up. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that I know that got DUIs because they were too afraid to call their parents and say like, I drank. They'd rather try to drive home and hide under the bed, but you could kill someone or yourself. So the parents got to be approachable and just make sure you're hammering home a sense of community. If you're not religious, then there's got to be some sort of sense of purpose. I hope you come to one, but there has to be some sort of sense of purpose there for sure. Yeah, that's got to be really driven into them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
We'll do the real handshake.
Yeah, the real one.
And then we'll do the frontline one. Awesome.